my name is Rihanna McKenzie, and today I'll be showing you how to take care of a gecko. So our first question is, what is a gecko? Well, a gecko is this, and this, and this, and this. As you can see, they're very majestic creatures. But in this tutorial specifically, we'll be focusing on all the New Caledonian geckos. You may be familiar with the most popular gecko in this family, the crested gecko. New Caledonian geckos are frankly derpy looking lizards that are nocturnal. They have prehensile tails, they have the iconic gecko sticky feet, and they have no eyelids. She does not blink and she never will. My personal favorite way that I've learned to define a gecko is squishy lizards who look like they've seen war. Stupid babies. Head empty, no thoughts. I say these little guys are stupid out of love. I think they're frankly adorable and amazing pets to keep. They provide companionship, they're fun to stalk, and honestly they're pretty personable. So, let's get into how to take care of these little guys.
Choose your character!
There's a wide variety of New Caledonian geckos. There's 13, but anyways. Of the 13 New Caledonian geckos, there's 4 which I see most commonly kept. There's the crested gecko, the gargoyle gecko, the Leachianus gecko, and the Chahua gecko. They all have relatively similar hair, which is why I feel comfortable covering them all in general. However, please research your specific species, because this could affect things like humidity, the size they need for their cage, food intake, and other things. Step 2. What do you need? Take care of a gecko at bare minimum. You need a terrarium, food, water. That are highly recommended and basically essential are a day/night cycle for your gecko's health, and a thermostat/humidostat. It'll need something that displays temperature and humidity. Something to keep in mind is, unlike a lot of reptiles that people keep, they do not need UVB. They're nocturnal and don't really get their vitamins from the sun. However, having UVB light on during the day does no harm and could be beneficial for their health. Step 3. Getting the gecko. So, your first thought might be to go to a pet store, like PetSmart or Petco. Don't do this. Go Herping does an amazing video on this, and also does a study asking Petco and PetSmart where their animals come from. Hint, most of them don't answer. Oh, then you're asking, where do I buy them from? Well, there's actually gecko breeders. They breed geckos and are a lot better than pet stores, generally. There are other fantastic breeders you can find online, and even better, you could find one locally to save your gecko the stress of being shipped. The most important thing when buying from a breeder? Look at reviews. If they say their gecko died within days of getting there, then there is something wrong. I'll be dividing this into 3 parts: feeding, enclosure, and handling. First, you grab your plastic cup. Then you grab your gecko yogurt. Scoop out an appropriate serving with your cup. I prefer to get just enough for the next day or so, as this doesn't really last long. And now it's time to fill it with water. Now, normally people have a spoon for this, but I just mixed it with my finger. And you want it about the consistency of ketchup. And once you've made her delicious yogurt of dead insects and fruit, you just let her eat it. Next, I'll be showing you how to water your gecko. It's like watering a plant. Congratulations, you have watered your gecko. Part 2, terrariums. So, you want your gecko to have a nice, clean, stimulating place to live. For your base, you have 2 main options which are easily accessible. You might want a glass tank, a screen tank. I will quickly list the pros and cons of both screen cages and glass cages. Glass cages keep in the humidity your geckos need much better, which means you have to spray them less, and also provide general more support for the decorations you might want to put in. Screen terrariums, meanwhile, are easier for your geckos to climb around on, as, for example, my gargoyle gecko can't climb on glass. Your terrarium, there's a lot of things you can do, but the main components you'll need are leaves, vines, and branches. They're essential as they provide your gecko cover, they provide your gecko water, they're a solid object that can hold up the rest of your decorations, and vines, while they aren't necessary, are great for enrichment and giving your gecko more solid surfaces to climb on. If you're ever at a loss, I'd highly suggest looking up how to make a good gecko terrarium, maybe look on Amazon for supplies, or you can even go on Pinterest and look up what other people did for their terrariums. Step 3. Handling. Another thing to keep in mind is some geckos will never like handling, especially those who weren't hand-raised. They might always be stressed by it, they might bite, they might chirp at you. Yes, geckos can chirp. I can't get her to do it, she hardly does, but it's a thing that happens. Another thing, as I might have implied, they aren't smart. They really aren't. Which is why I suggest when you're handling them with your hands, as the name implies, handle them over a bed or a couch, somewhere where if they take their leap of faith, aka they jump without knowing if they're going to land safely, that they land on something soft instead of hard. While in the wild, they are literally built to take these leaps of faith and land on a less than ideal surface, it still probably doesn't feel all that great, and it's best to keep your gecko from getting stressed and to just have a soft surface for them to land on. When picking up your gecko, I'd suggest picking them up from underneath. When you pick them up from above, you look like a bird coming down on them. So it's best to scoop under like this. Handle your gecko more and more, you'll slowly learn that they have a body language. You can tell when they'll jump, and they always tilt their direction, their head in the direction they're going to move. So it's not a challenge to know where your gecko is going or what they're planning. The trick I love doing with my gecko when she has a lot of energy is the treadmill, where she climbs from hand to hand. This gets a lot of energy out of your gecko and generally calms them down. She's done this for like minutes before. She's not very energetic right now. As you see, she's been sleeping on my shirt most of this time. The most important rule is just be as gentle as you can when handling. Be wary of their eyes, as they can't close your eyes if you accidentally poke them. And they're very small creatures. While they do get big, she's only about a year old, she's going to be like 3 times the size. She is still delicate, and a little poke, what that might be to you, kind of feels like a punch to them. So just be wary. Those, in my opinion, are some of the most rewarding and least complicated pets to keep. They're sweet, patient creatures, and while reptiles don't have the emotional complexity of dogs and cats, where they can learn to form bonds and love, they can form trust, where they become less stressed around you, trust you to pick them up, and don't run away from you. It's really special once you get it. I'm Rihanna McKenzie. Thank you so much for your time. And if you do choose to get a gecko, I hope that it brings you just as much joy as it brought me.